Pilipinas.
Good evening, I'm Pia Ontiveros. Welcome to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Tonight on the program, the Health Department will do away with the daily posting of COVID-19 case counts on social media beginning January as it detects a new case of the highly transmissible Omicron variant and sees an uptick in COVID-19 infections in some areas. Christmas Day was different for thousands of typhoon victims, some suffering from waterborne diseases, others struggling to rebuild or just trying to survive. And yet another worldwide box office record for the web-slinging hero Spider-Man.
About which we know.
The Health Department detected another imported Omicron variant case, a 38-year-old woman who arrived from the United States via a Philippine Airlines flight on December 10th. She initially tested negative in an RT-PCR test before her flight, but had sore throat, itchiness, and colds during her fourth day in quarantine. She tested positive for COVID on December 14th, eventually became asymptomatic, and was released from an isolation facility on December 24. But she's still in isolation at home. Authorities are looking for her close contacts.
Minomonitor and i-re-swab po natin siya. We are still trying to coordinate with BOQ and DOTR regarding the manifest of this flight. Rest assured na lahat naman po ng dumarating, kapag dumating po sila, for example, coming from US, a yellow country, they are all quarantined for 5 days, tested on the 5th day. Once negative, they are sent home, but they have to do home quarantine until the 14th day. So lahat naman po ay sumailalim dyan, pero kinukuha pa rin po natin yung manifest so that we can monitor, especially those close contacts.
115 countries have already detected an Omicron case, 51 of which have suspected or confirmed local transmission. Now, the Health Department here in the Philippines reporting 318 new COVID-19 infections, but these exclude data from 28 non-operational and non-reporting testing laboratories. These labs contribute an average 9.5% of samples tested and 6.4% of positive individuals. There are so far over 9,500 active cases, 11 new deaths, and more than 250 recoveries. Today's tallies also indicate only 14,237 people underwent COVID-19 testing, and 2.2% of them turned out positive. Based on the department's data, there is a steady increase in the positivity rate, or the percentage of people who test positive for the virus of those overall who have been tested. This is still lower than the World Health Organization's 5% recommendation. Now, the Health Department flagging the case uptick in 31 provinces that showed an increase in infections in the past week. 8 areas have been recording an increase in the past 2 weeks, including the cities of San Juan, Las Piñas, Manila, Makati, and Parañaque in Metro Manila, Apayao in the Cordilleras, as well as Davao de Oro and Davao del Sur.
Ang atin pa rin pong natatala na Omicron case ay 4, galing pa rin po sa labas. So hopefully it is not variant-driven. If we need to observe, nakikita ho natin na yung mobility natin ngayon ay mataas kumpara po sa mga previous weeks natin dahil nga po sa ating holiday season. So we are counting 2 weeks prior para makita natin. So ito pong pag-uptick ng mga kaso natin started off 2 weeks ago, Ito pong mga exposures na to. So hopefully tayo po, tuloy-tuloy po tayo mag-comply sa minimum health protocols.
The country records an uptick in new cases and detects another case of the feared Omicron variant. Beginning January 1st, the DOH will no longer publish its usual daily COVID-19 case bulletin on social media in a move to streamline public communication. But HERA says people can still access data via the agency's website. Octa research fellow Guido David and senatorial aspirant JV Ejercito questioned the timing of the decision, with Ejercito saying that it is all the more imperative that COVID cases should be closely monitored. He adds, quote, complacency will be disastrous in dealing with this pandemic, unquote. Over 100 people in areas hit by Typhoon Odette now battling waterborne diseases as they struggle with limited resources. The health department says there are 16 cases of diarrhea in Cebu and 54 in Siargao Island. 80 people in Dinagat Islands, meanwhile, have been diagnosed with acute gastroenteritis. The agency says water pipes in these areas were damaged and may have caused contamination.
Nagpadala na po tayo ng mga epidemiology teams natin dito sa mga lugar na ito para makita po natin yung talagang source or sanhi ng kanilang mga pagkakaroon ng gastroenteritis. Pwedeng bacterial, pwedeng virus, pwedeng yung iba pang mga sanhi galing sa mga organismo. Kailangan namin matukoy maigi kung ano po yung source nito para po tayo ay makapagbigay ng appropriate na medications. Lahat po ng mga apektado nitong diarrheal cases na ito, sila po ay sumasailalim ngayon sa pagmamanage ng atin pong mga local governments and regional offices, and they are all being treated.
The health department has yet to confirm reports of deaths from waterborne illnesses. Now, over in Palawan, relief and rehabilitation efforts underway in areas heavily devastated by Odette. Disaster officials say the towns of Rojas, Araceli, and San Vicente, as well as several barangays in Puerto Princesa City, are the worst hit, and that bringing aid remains to be a logistical challenge. Tristan Nadalo was able to visit Rojas Town. He now joins us live from Puerto Princesa with the latest. Tristan.
Pia, Typhoon Odette survivors are now dealing with fear, uncertainty, and desperation almost 2 weeks after the typhoon devastated some parts of Palawan province. Fear for their safety and desperation for the much-needed aid. We took a 4-hour trip to Rojas, Palawan, and the devastation was very much apparent even before we reached the town. We found some residents of Barangay Uno in Rojas returning to this part of the coastal barangay looking for whatever belongings they can find. They say at least 50 houses were wiped out in this stretch alone during Typhoon Odette's onslaught. For 73-year-old Nanay Sally, it's heartbreaking to see that her house for more than 40 years is gone.
Masakit, malungkot, kasi nawalan kami talaga ng gamit. Wala kami pambili. Kaya nahirapan din kami, kaya lang tiisin mo kahit na wala kang magawa.
Every day she returns to try to search the debris of their old house in the hopes of finding her coin bank, where she saved some of her money that could help her family.
Wala rin kaming kapira-pira, kaya nasiraan nga. Was out pa.
Pati pera nyo?
Oo, yung binibigay ng mga anak ko.
Inipon nyo po sana?
Oo, iniipon ko yun. Hindi ko na ba nga iniintindi mabuti, kaya baka makasama sa katawan ko. Nagkasakit pa ako sa kakaisip.
69-year-old Divina Granflor recounted the nightmare when Odette destroyed their home.
Di po namin sukat akalain na ito ay ganitong mangyayari sa amin. Sana mabigyan po kami ng suporta ng gobyerno na halos ang mga tao dito walang mga bangka, walang matulugan.
In other parts of Palawan, some roads and bridges were destroyed. Fallen trees and electric posts are everywhere. Residents in Barangay San Rafael in Puerto Princesa struggle to find clean water. This men dug up a well for their water supply.
Sa biglang rumagasan na yung tubig, tapos nung nagharang na ho dyan sir sa daan, ay sa tulay, yun na kumalat na yung tubig hanggang sa buong barangay. 8 feet ang lagpas sa tulay. Kasi problema ho talaga sa komunidad yung inumin ng tubig ngayon.
Residents are appealing for relief goods, water supply, and construction materials so that they can start rebuilding their homes. They say that some of them are currently staying with their relatives or camping out beside streets in makeshift tents. Back to you, Pia.
Tristan Nodalo there reporting from Puerto Princesa in Palawan. Now, aside from diarrhea, residents in the typhoon-hit island of Siargao also face the threat of a pneumonia outbreak. Chrissy Di Matulak tells us more.
Here in Siargao District Hospital, most of the patients here are children who are suffering from diarrhea. Since Typhoon Odette, people have been having a difficulty accessing clean water. There is only one generator set working, but it is not enough to power the whole place. The hospital management here in Davao, Surigao del Norte says that since the typhoon hit, a diarrhea outbreak ensued. And now people are starting to flock for pneumonia-related concerns. The facility is capable of handling only a limited number of patients, but now forced to cramp more than 120 patients. Patients recall their traumatizing ordeal during Typhoon Odette's onslaught. They also recount what brought them here and how they're coping with its aftermath.
Kami mag-asawa, talan, pag-apos mi. Mamatay mi, dungan mi. Sakit naman ako kuto-kuto.
Parang hindi ko matanggap na kasi wala na kaming matitirahan. Tapos dito pa kami sa ospital. Aywan, hindi ko alam.
Because of lack of beds, patients are advised to bring their own mattresses, beddings, and pillows. The hospital is also in dire need of IV fluids and diarrhea medications. Head physician Dr. Eserlina Tan says they would appreciate if more health workers will volunteer and assist them.
Pagod na pagod talaga kami yung mga health workers namin kasi ilang days na ito na ganyan karami yung mga pasyente namin. Yung una, umaabot na nga ng 120, 110. Ngayon, nagmi-maintain pa rin, 90 patients pa rin yung nandoon sa, sa ward.
Aside from diarrhea and pneumonia, the hospital also has to deal with COVID-19. The facility has a limited number of antigen sets. The hospital admits it is not prioritizing COVID-19 related concerns at the moment. They hope not to worry about it, especially since there's already much on their hands. In Surigao del Norte, Chrissy de Matulac, CNN Philippines.
Coming up on News 9, we get updates on other Central Visayas provinces that also suffered from Odette, Bohol, and Cebu. And 3 members of a Korean pop group, BTS, are recovering at home after catching COVID-19. More after the break.
Oh, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
Cash flow and easier cash and check collections. Bancom Pay offers payment solutions that will deliver your company's needs more efficiently with Cash Pay, Check Pay, Direct Pay, and GovPay. Bancom Collect offers collection solutions that prioritize your company's security and convenience to ensure effective and easy transactions with Deposit Collect and Direct Collect. Bancom Connect allows you to effectively monitor and manage your company's funds and transactions in real time online through Bancom Business and Bancom Business Direct. Visit Bank of Commerce online or text the hotline for more details. Improve your profitability through effective cash management. Go the Bancom way today.
May pagbabago man sa dekorasyon, sa pangangaroling, at sa simoy ng selebrasyon. Ang maiiwan na damang-dama ay sarap ng Pasko na buong-buo. Sarap na hatid ng Pure Foods Noche Buena. Sarap na dala ng pamilyang bumubuo sa Pasko. Buo ang Pasko sa Paskong Pure Foods.
For my babies, only vet-approved Nutri-Chunks puppies. The only one with active boost and prebiotics na Pampalisto. Made with real meat with essential nutrients to help them grow strong and healthy. Happiness! Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks puppies.
Bawat patak, may sarap, may lakas, sulit. Red Horse Beer. Red Horse!
#1 ba talaga ang Pure Foods Tender Juicy?
The best!
No more questions, Your Honor.
Walang duda! Pinaka-tender, pinaka-juicy, at pinaka-masarap. Kaya #1.
Pa-order pa in the court!
Walang duda! Kids can tell, #1 ang Pure Foods Tender Juicy.
Amid the darkness, look on the bright side. It has never been this good for Philippine golf. The country was able to send its best golfers to the last 2 Olympics and clinched a major championship. First, Miguel Tabuena competed in Rio 2016, followed by Bianca Pagdanganan and Filipino-Japanese golf sensation Yuka Saso in Tokyo 2020. Months before Tokyo, Yuka won the prestigious U.S. Women's Open. With Philippine golfers breaking through on a global stage, the country's golfing community thrived and became vibrant.
It's always an honor to play for the flag. There's always a different feel of playing for something bigger than yourself.
It's really great to see how much golf has taken off, especially last year. It was a tough year for everyone, but I think golf is one of the sports where you could implement safety protocols.
Since 2005, International Container Terminal Services Incorporated, or ICTSI, has been supporting the training of Filipino golfers, including the staging of pro circuits by Pilipinas Golf.
ICTSI and PGT, LPGT are doing a great job providing the professional golfers to have a tour in Philippines.
Me, Yuka, and Bianca would 100% agree that we wouldn't be where we are now without ICTSI.
Over the years, golf greats like Jennifer Rosales and Frankie Mendoza and current superstars like Yuka, Bianca, and Miguel have gotten support from ICTSI and Pilipinas Golf, helping them achieve their goals, including the promotion of Philippine golf worldwide. With ICTSI's support, golf is the silver lining in Philippine sports. I'm Sam Sidwani, CNN Philippines.
Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Typhoon Odette has turned the once picture-perfect surfing destination of Siargao into a virtual wasteland, and residents spent Christmas Day trying to pick up the pieces. Chrissy Di Matulak returns with that story.
During the Yuletide season, the island of Siargao becomes more vibrant as more tourists come during this time. Locals would celebrate the occasion with tourists, and strangers quickly become friends. But with the devastation caused by Typhoon Odette, everywhere you turn in the island is a site of ruins. The town of Burgos is one of the worst hit areas. The place is popular among surfers for its huge waves. But when the typhoon hit, these waves became deadly, threatened everyone, and shattered structures.
Yung alon pumasok na dito. Nung dumating na yung alon dito, tumakbo na sila doon, giniba nila yung pader. Doon na sila kasi lumaki na ang dagat dito.
The devastation of the island did not give residents any reason to celebrate Christmas. Some rung in the occasion lacking basic necessities like food and water.
Kung may pira, nahirapan kami, lalo na sa pagkain. Kasi may mga anak ako. Wala namang trabaho yung asawa ko. Tapos may nanay pa ako na matanda, 95 years old.
With power and communication lines down, distribution of relief items to affected families has become more challenging. Local government units continue to appeal. They are in dire need of supplies for the people and their homes. It may be the holidays, but for people in Siargao, it is the last of their concern. What they want to focus on is how to rebuild their homes and their lives. The people are optimistic that the island will be restored to its old vibrancy with each other's help and cooperation. From Siargao Island, Chrissy Di Matulak, CNN Philippines.
Communities are still struggling to get back on their feet in nearly 2 weeks since Typhoon Odette ravaged parts of the Visayas and Mindanao. Our Melissa Lopez visited Bohol and Cebu, where people still lack power and resources. More in this report.
It's been more than a week since Typhoon Odette left a trail of destruction in Cebu. Families spent Christmas in the dark, and it seems the new year would be no different.
People in Mactan Island are still suffering from the damage brought by powerful winds that ripped through their properties.
Nakakaba, ma'am, kasi tanggal na yung aming mga bubong. Halos nabasa na yung mga gamit namin, yung paninda namin, wala na. Di na kami nakapagnegosyo. Talagang bagsak kami.
trees and structures could not withstand destructive gusts, power and water supply have not been restored, while mobile signal is intermittent. Cebuanos are picking up the pieces little by little, one step at a time. This barbershop is back in business, surviving strong winds with only a crack on the display window. But barber Jaime Malyari can't accept as many customers with only one rechargeable razor.
Pangatlong araw lang to, hirap. Hindi nga sa akin tong iniram ko lang to. Ang hirap talaga. Hirap ang tubig inumin. Saka ang init ng araw.
Restarting business is not as easy for Ana Rogales. Her karinderya and sari-sari store remain boarded up.
Kahit nung pandemic, di kami makatinda ng tarong kasi mahina, wala tao. Tapos inabot pa ng bagyo. Yung natitira namin, tinda namin yun ang inamin unti-unti.
Even the Mactan Air Base was not spared from Odette's wrath. This pile of galvanized iron sheets used to be the ceiling fronting the base operations of the Philippine Air Force right beside the Mactan Cebu International Airport.
Workers are still clearing streets of debris. A newly built 16-unit apartment building totally collapsed, while most facilities of the in-camp hospital is not functional. An official says strong winds moved the C-130 cargo aircraft to its opposite side. Damage is extensive. Communities still rely on relief packs to get by, with thousands of families counting on charity to tide them over.
Kailangan namin kuryente, tubig. Kasi yan ang importante, tubig. Hanggang ngayon, di pa rin kami makabili ng materyales. Unang-una, wala kami pambili na. Sana may dumating na ayuda sa amin, para makarecover me.
Zero talaga, zero. Kung may tumulong lang, yan lang. Okay lang.
While the new year is usually a fresh start, typhoon victims just hope to survive the last days of 2021 and rebuild from the ruins. Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
The Air Force is transporting supplies every day, both from the government and the private sector, to affected areas. A C-130 plane unloaded 12,000 kilos of rice today for thousands of displaced families in Bohol. A smaller Fokker F-27 aircraft also brought over 1,000 kilos of rice, already repacked into smaller portions. The Air Force spokesman earlier said relief operations will likely drag into the new year as officials warn people against hoarding and profiteering. A total of 19 fireworks-related injuries have been recorded so far in the country just days ahead of New Year's Eve. That's according to the Health Department's update. The figure is 58% higher than that of last year. No one has died from these injuries. Now, still on Newsnight, how are 3 members of BTS doing now after testing positive for COVID-19? And the latest Spider-Man movie swings to new heights, becoming the first pandemic-era film to hit $1 billion in box office sales. You're watching CNN Philippines.
Anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
And MX3 Coffee Mix to ignite my day. Hi guys! Lagi akong focused, active, at extraordinary. Because the most important things in life deserve nothing less. MX3 Coffee Mix, my choice.
Ahon, bangon, sulong. Ahon, bangon, sulong.
Pangarap ng bawat Pilipino. Hangarin ng Northern Cement.
Ahon, bangon, sulong.
Pinalaki ng Northern Cement ang kapasidad ng kanilang planta para steady ang supply ng sementong tigasin. Northern Cement Max Plus, Supreme at Max Pro.
Ngayong Pasko, huwag sana nating kalimutang pasalamatan ang mga frontliners na patuloy na nagsasakripisyo.
Ang mga frontliners na 24 oras ang serbisyo.
Alay ng frontliners ang kanilang buhay para sa kapakanan ng sambayan ng Pilipino.
Ang ating mga frontliners, ang mga bagong bayani ng bayan.
Mula sa amin, para sa mga mahal nating frontliners, maligayang Pasko at manigong bagong taon! Frontliners, kayo ang bida!
Maligayang Pasko.
Very festive!
It's gonna be good.
It's happy, it's fun.
We just wanted to feel like home.
Nag-i-snow dito sa Pilipinas.
But we'll warm your hearts this holiday season. Your home of the holidays is here on Discovery Plus, the perfect gift that lasts all year long.
Tumagal tayo sa dilim, laman tayo ng nightlife. Now it's time to live the light life. Let's have San Mig Light with the sun out. Hindi lang panggabi ang bonding natin. Any hour is now happy hour. As you drink up the light life, kumagaan ang feeling. Ang katapusan ng bawat kwento, may inuumpisa ang bago. Get into the light life.
Sa pagbangon ng mga Pilipino, saludo ako sa mga taong patuloy na humaharap sa hamon ng pagbabago.
Bilang isang ina, handa akong gawin ang lahat para sa kaligtasan ng aking mga anak.
Pandemya man, tuloy pa rin ang serbisyo para malinis ang kapaligiran. Serbisyong publiko para sa kaligtasan ng lahat.
Sa panahon ng krisis, ikaw, ako, magtulungan tayo. Saludo ako sa Pilipino.
May pagbabago man sa dekorasyon, sa pangangaroling, at sa simoy ng selebrasyon. Ang maiiwan na damang-dama ay sarap ng Pasko na buong-buo. Sarap na hatid ng Pure Foods Noche Buena. Sarap na dala ng pamilyang bumubuo sa Pasko. Buo ang Pasko sa Paskong Pure Foods.
You'd be surprised that even plants in your own backyard could add some oomph to your cocktail. I have here some fresh rosemary to give a spin on our classic Negroni, or as we'll call it, home garden mix. For this cocktail, you'll need, and for the tools, I'll cut a piece of my rosemary, then I'm going to torch it and trap it into my glass. Set it aside to let it smoke while we mix our drink. Get your mixing glass and combine all of your ingredients. Then we add our ice, and then we'll stir for about 30 seconds. Now we're going to grab our glass and add fresh ice, strain and pour your cocktail. Garnish this with a fresh sprig of rosemary. And there we have our home garden mix made with GSM Premium Gin.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. 3 members of BTS are on the road to recovery after contracting COVID-19. Both Jin and RM tested negative when they landed in South Korea from the U.S., but got positive results on the 25th. Meanwhile, Suga tested positive immediately upon the group's return. The 3 are now self-isolating and are being treated at home in accordance with health guidelines. Now, in the movies, the web-slinging hero has made yet another box office milestone. Spider-Man No Way Home is the first film to make $1 billion globally since 2019, and it achieved the feat in just 12 days. The Marvel movie also had the second largest U.S. opening in history, taking $260 million on its first weekend. No Way Home hits local theaters January 8. And that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Oh, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
Ringo Honasan po. Sa pagbangon ng mga Pilipino, saludo ako sa mga taong patuloy na humaharap sa hamon ng pagbabago.
Bilang isang ina, handa akong gawin ang lahat para sa kaligtasan ng aking mga anak.
Pandemya man, tuloy pa rin ang serbisyo para malinis ang kapaligiran. Serbisyong publiko para sa kaligtasan ng lahat.
Sa panahon ng krisis, ikaw, ako, magtulungan tayo.